Hello viewers, welcome back. This is Mage Tech Hacks. This is Mage Technologies, and today we are going to pick up from where we last stopped, and we are still untangling Module 3. We are still demystifying Module 3, and Module 3 is complete Python course, and then Module 3 is about control flow. We are still knowing why do programs need to make decisions. How do decisions affect the flow or affect the output of our programs? And that's what control flow is all about. So today we are going to pick up from where we stopped. Yesterday we discussed very many things. We looked at very many definitions. We went through very many topics, and in the topics that we untangled yesterday, we had this table of contents. We covered what control flow is. We covered its definition. We also covered the real world analogy and appreciated everything. Then we also looked at the three pillars of control flow. Those are the conditional statements, then the loops, and then the loop control. We also went further to look at a comparison with or without control flow. We also looked at conditional statements, the if statement, the if else statement, the if else statements, and we stopped when we are going to untangle, or when we are going to look at the nested if statements. So I hope everyone appreciates that one who has not watched the first part of this video. It is in our playlist. Please go and visit it. So before you come and look at this. So we are looking at nested if statements, and we say that you can place an if statement inside another if statement. So nested if statements are all about nested data, placing an if statement inside another if statement, and this is called nesting in Python. So when we put an if statement inside another if statement, the process of doing that is called nesting, and those statements are called nested if statements. So we shall always use it when a second decision depends on the first decision. So when the second decision is all about when the first decision depends on the second, when the second decision depends on the first decision, we shall always use nested data structures to come up with meaningful decisions. For example, we have, let's open our VS Code and try to practice this. Let's open our VS Code. When we open our VS Code, we shall appreciate, let me try to make it a little bit bigger. In our example here, we have something like, in our example, we have age is equal to 20. Let's try to type and then see. Age is equal to 20. Age is equal to 20, and they are telling us we have a Boolean here, has ID. If he has ID equals true. Have a Boolean true for a person has ID, and Booleans written by capital letter T. Has ID true, then if age is greater than or equal to 18, if age is greater than or equal to 18, then we shall print old enough to end, print old enough. We said that those ones who are lacking the notes, our notes are on our YouTube channel. You go on our YouTube channel about and then about our YouTube channel, and then you go to a place where there is links, and then the notes are in the links section, are in the Google Drive links section. So you go there and then you try to download everything we are doing here. You need to have went through the first tutorials. They direct you very well so that you go and download the notes, and then you can be able to follow along with us. So we have print enough to enter, old enough to enter, old enough to enter, old enough to enter. So that is it, old enough to enter. Then if has ID, so now you see we are having another if statement inside the other if statement, meaning that the second decision or the second opinion or the second condition is dependent on the first condition. So if the person has ID, if the person has ID, if the age is above or equal to 18 and the person has ID, so there might be a condition of the age is above 18, is above or equal to 18, but the person doesn't have ID, meaning that for you to have an ID, it must depend on the age must be by default. You must have age 18 and above. So if has ID, if the condition is true, if has ID, if this condition is true, then print ID verified, welcome. Shall have print ID verified, welcome. Print ID verified, welcome. Then else, the else part, if they don't have ID, print please bring your ID next time. Print please bring your ID next time. Please bring your ID next time. That's what we print on the terminal. Then remember, we have an if statement inside another if statement. If the age is greater than or equal to 18, we are going to print old enough to enter. If has ID, print ID verified, welcome. Then if the person doesn't have ID, the else part of this, this else part is catering for the if statement that is inside. If that person doesn't have ID, we shall print please bring your ID next time. Then we have another else part for this if statement. Indentation is very crucial when as far as Python is concerned, so shall have it as else. If the person's age is, now this else part is going to look at the false part of if this statement is wrong or if this statement is not true. So if age is greater than or equal to 18, we shall do this. What if the age is less than or equal to 18? What if the age is less than 18 years? What shall we do? We shall print sorry, you must be 18 years or older. So we shall print sorry, sorry, you must be 18 or older. Now here you are not going to find a question. You are not going to reach that part of asking for IDs, because having an ID, you first need a condition of you being above 18 years. You cannot have an ID when you are below 18 years, meaning that you do not even have that. You do not reach that stage of being asked for an ID. For an ID to be verified, because you have not met the years. You don't even reach that stage, meaning that for you to be asked for an ID, you must have first met the first condition of being 18 years or older, meaning that the if statement that contains ID details, that contains the ID prompt details, is dependent on the if statement of the age. If you are 18 and above, you'll be allowed to enter. But when you are not 18 and above, you'll not be allowed to enter. And hence, if you have not entered, you will not be asked for ID verification. So that's how nested if statements come along. Nested if statements, the second decision depends on the first condition. So that is it. Let's try to print this on our terminal and we see what prints. So the age is 20 and the person has 18, is above or equal to 18, meaning that what is inside here will get printed. So we shall have old enough to enter, because our age is 18, and our condition says if the age is greater than or equal to 18, we shall print old enough to enter. And if has ID and on our Boolean here, we see that they have ID, which is true, and ID verified, welcome. So let's try to see what if this person was above 18. For example, is 30, that if the person is above 18, for example, is 30, but the person lacks ID. Let's try to change this Boolean to false. What will get printed? What if, so this person is above 30 and then they don't have ID. And I think that the part that will be printed will be, please bring your ID next time, because they expect anyone that is above 18 to have carried an ID. So we shall have it as, let's try to run our program and see what will print on the terminal. Please bring your ID next time. The person is eligible to enter, but they don't have an ID. So they are going to be told to go back for an ID. Please bring your ID next time. So you see that this else part prints. Last time this else part did not print because the person was above 18 years, and at the same time the person had an ID. So that's how nested data or nested conditional statements operate. So let's try to go on another item. Let's try to go to our document and visit another item. So that's it. That's how we have explained it. So let's go to one line condition, the ternary expression. The one line condition, which is called the ternary expression. For simple conditions, Python allows compact single line version. Use sparingly. Readability matters more than brevity. So we have our syntax. Value if true, if condition else, value if false. So we have age is equal to 20. Let's try to go to our VS Code and try to investigate this. Let's try to get rid of this. We have age is equal to 20. Status is equal to adult. Status is a string. Status is equal to adult. Status is equal to adult if the age is greater than or equal to 18. Those are the single line the single line or the one line conditionals or the ternary expressions. So Python allows a compact single line version that promotes readability. For example, this one is a single line conditional is greater than 18, else minor, else minor. So even this one is a condition and it is a single line condition. Print status. So the status, because age is 20, and the status we shall have a status of adult if the age is greater than or equal to 18, and then else for minor. So if the age is below 18, we shall have it the status as minor, and if the age is greater than or equal to 18, the status will be equal to 20. So when we print our status, we expect it to be adult because the age is 20 and 20 is greater than or equal to 18. So we shall have it that. So I think everyone is following along and they are appreciating. So this whole thing, this one line, this one is the whole of it here. This 3-line code is equivalent with someone who has written age is equal to 20. Someone who has written something like this. Let's try to get rid of this. Something like this. Age is equal to 20, and then if age is greater than or equal to, if age is greater than or equal to 18, if age is greater than or equal to 18, then we shall say status is equal to adult. Status is equal to adult. Then the else part, status is equal to minor. So this is like repetition, yeah, giving. Shall have it status is equal to minor. So the whole of that, let's try to print status. Let's try to print status. When you try to print status, it will be equal to adult because the age is above or is greater than or equal to 18. So that is it, and that is it that we are seeing in our, so these single line or one line conditionals, the ternary expressions, for simple conditions that don't require a lot of comparisons, we can write them as single line comparisons like that. So that is it, and the whole of that is equivalent through this whole process here. So that is it, and I hope someone is appreciating it. So let's go to logical operators. Logical operators combine multiple conditions into one. They return a Boolean true or false. So logical operators will always return a Boolean which is true or false. A Boolean consists of two values, the true value or the false value. Please note the casing. The first letter of a Boolean is noted by the capital letter or the uppercase letter. That's what that mistake is very common in very many beginners. They try to use Booleans as small letters. Please note the casing that Booleans will always start with capital letters. So logical operators, these are used to join multiple conditions into one. So you might have the operator and, meaning both conditions must be true. So we must have a condition. For example, if a person is 20 and has ID, then that condition will run, or that print statement will be printed on the terminal. So with the and operator, both conditions must be met, or both conditions must be true. Then the return returns true when all conditions are true. Then the all operator, at least one of the condition is true. If the first condition is true, it will print. If the second condition is true and the first one is not true, it will also print. True. It will return the true when any of the condition is true. Whether the first condition or the second condition is true, it will always return true. Then not reverses the Boolean value. The condition is false. So those are the logical operators that we use in Python. Let's try to investigate, or let's try to untangle the AND operator. So let's go to our terminal. Let's go to our VS Code and then try to untangle this. Let's try to see the AND operator. So we have something like h is equal to 22. H is equal to 22. Then has ID equals true. Has ID equals to. Has ID equals true. So with the AND operator, we saw earlier that both conditions must be true. So we shall have it as that if age is greater than or equal to 18, if age is greater than or equal to 18, and so these operators are used to join in two conditions, and has ID, then this statement will print. Let's try to see. Indentation is very crucial in Python. So here I made a mistake, and then here indentation starts. So we shall have it as print entry allowed. Print entry allowed. Print entry allowed. So this print statement that we have here, will only print only and only when these two conditions are true, because of this AND operator, or the AND operator. So if one of these conditions is false, for example, let's try to put this Boolean as false. Let's try to put this Boolean as false, and then you see, will this what will print on the terminal? What will print on the terminal? Nothing will print on the terminal, because we have not provided any alternative if the other one is if these two statements are not true, the else part, we have not given that else part. So nothing will print to the terminal. What if we leave it like as it was? Let's try to put it as the Boolean, which is true. So we shall have it as entry allowed to be printed, because both conditions are meeting when you compare them to this variable age 22, and the person has ID. He has met both conditions, and the AND operator will always be there if and only if both conditions meet the ruling or the criterion. So it will only print when both conditions are true. So let's try to go back and see. So we shall have it as it being printed. So the truth table for AND, print true and true, that is true. Then print true and false, that is false. Then print false and true, it will is false, and then false and false, it will always remain false. So it will only, the truth table for AND will only be existent only when both statements are true. But if one of the statements is true and the other is false, the result will always be a false result. And if the first statement is false and then the next one is true, it will always take on the false statement. But if all of the statements are false, it will again take the false statement. These things don't need to cram. You just need to know that for AND operator, both statements must be true for it to give you a true result as a Boolean. So let's look at the OR operator. The OR operator. Let's look at the OR operator. Let's try to open our VS Code and then untangle this. Let's try to open our VS Code. Let's try to get rid of this. So we have seen the AND operator. Now we are looking at the OR operator. So we shall have it in our, according to our document that we have, which is student. For those people who don't know where to find this document, please go and visit our YouTube channel, and on the home page we shall have the links. On the links you will look links for notes, and then it will redirect you to Google Drive, where you'll find the course outline and the notes of this and the notes that we are using to go through everything that we have here. So please try to go there and visit, and I request you guys to subscribe to this channel to promote this work, because we said that we shall always use project-based learning. We first of all cover a topic and then get well conversant with it, or well acquainted with it, and then later we tackle exercises. Exercises are the ones that link us into the projects, and then the projects mark a milestone or a capstone for summarization or for summary of that given module that is under discussion. So with student, we have a Boolean of true, and then is the staff false, is the staff equal to a Boolean false, is staff false. Why is this expected expression file? Is the staff? Yeah, this naming is not allowed. Let's try to put this. Is the staff is false. At least one with the OR operator, at least one of them must be true, whether the first one or the second one, but at least one of them must be true. So let's try to untangle this if condition. So if is a student or is a staff, if is student or is staff, if is a student or is staff, then print library access granted, meaning that if you are a student, you are granted library access, and if you are staff, you are also granted library access. So one of the conditions are like if both of them are true, it's okay, you are granted access. If you are a student, if you are not a student and you are staff, you are granted. So we shall see the truth table for all, but I think it has most of its values as true and then the other as false. And unless if you are not a student and you are not at the same time a staff, so you are not granted access to the library. So let's try to print this. We shall say print library access, library access, library access granted, library access granted. So prints is a student is true. So let's try to print anything. So library access granted because the person is a student, it is true, and the person is not staff. It being true, it being like at least having one true value fulfills and the condition gets printed. So let's try to go back to our document and then we try to So this one gets printed, and the student it is true that the person is a student. Therefore, one condition is met, and that condition is it being a student. So the truth table, true or true, yes, it gets printed as a true value. Then true or false, it gets printed because one, or at least we have one true value. Then false or true, at least we have one true value, so it gives us all of them as true. Then print the false or false. This one gets a false result because none of the conditions is true. So if the person is not a student and at the same time that person is not a staff, you are not going to be granted library access. I hope someone is understanding. I hope someone is performing. So with that, it will take us to the next chapter, which is 3.3, and we shall look at the not operator. Let's try to open our VS Code, and then we try to untangle this. So we have seen the AND and the OR operator, and now we are looking at the not operator. So let's try to untangle this example that we have in our notes. We have it as is logged in, is logged in equals to false. Is logged in is equal to false. Then we shall have the if condition. If not logged in, meaning that if not logged in, meaning that logged in equals to false, meaning that this statement or the variable is communicating something that this person is not logged in. And now if we check it as in line with what the variable is communicating, automatically it will print a true value and the program will print on the terminal. So if not logged in, if not is logged in, then this statement will please log in to continue. Print please log in to continue. Please log in to continue. So this you get printed because it is in line with the variable. It is in line with the variable that is false. So is logged in is false, meaning this statement means the person is not logged in. And if you're asking if you not logged in, then you shall print this statement. So this statement will get printed as please log in to continue. What if is logged in is true? What if is logged in is true? So this one checks if not logged in, if not is logged in. So it is bringing in a condition, but this one, but the first condition that was declared in the variable is already true. It is a Boolean which is true. So if not logged in, therefore this statement will not print because this person is already logged in. So let's try to print and see what we run in the terminal. So nothing gets printed because this person is logged in. This is true. This Boolean is true. So I think that's how you need to perform, and you need to understand how the not operator works. So today we have looked at the logical operators. Let's try to go back to our document to track. So today we have looked at the nested if statements. We have looked at the logic. We have looked at the one line or the ternary expressions, and we have also looked at the logic operators, that is the and, the or, and not operators. And I think we shall wind up with that today. Remember that consistency outweighs intensity. So it doesn't need for us to cover the whole module in one complete session. For us to cover simple things, small chunks of work, when we have understood them, is better than handling a large chunk of notes and then we just pedal through notes and then finish up when we are not well conversant with the topics. So that does not help us. So today we shall stop here on the logical operators, and next time in our next tutorial we shall see and we shall untangle combining multiple logical operators. For example, combining the true, we're combining the and, not, and combining the and, not, and the all operators, logical operators. Then later we shall look at the comparison operators for full reference. So that is it, and I thank you for this time that you have dedicated to study, and I hope that we catch up next time. See you. This is Midge Tech Hacks. This is Midge Technologies, and please, I request you to subscribe to this channel so that we improve this channel, so that we can upload more tutorials in the future. Today it might not be interesting. Today it might not be as engaging as it will be. But when we reach on the projects and exercises, that's how we shall test ourselves whether we are well conversant with what we have discussed in the previous modules. So please, for every step that we are moving, please try to be alert, try to be engaged, and then we tackle this complete Python course. See you in the next tutorial. Midge Tech Hacks, Midge Technologies, Innocent Junior Mkwaya, Uganda, Kampala. See you.